In Marvel Rivals right now, we have quite a few cool Vanguard characters, but I do think there's some that we are missing and that we would like to see being added in. So this video is going to go over 8 Vanguards we would like to be seeing added into Marvel Rivals in the future. So kicking this off nice and strong right now, we have Ghost Rider. Now Ghost Rider is going to be very similar to Captain America in terms of his health pool. And also he should have a lot of overhealth. The whole point in Ghost Rider is that he cannot die, so the more damage he does, the more health or overhealth he gets back. Now this is not something we've not seen in this game anyway, so that's nothing too different. In terms of his attacks, he should obviously use his chain whips, and he should also use his shotgun as well if he has that available. They could take away the shotguns and just use the chain whips. That would also work extremely well as well. In terms of his ultimate, he has to have the motorbike in there somewhere. I'm not going to lie to you, that will be absolutely insane for this game. If for his ultimate you can summon the motorbike, that would be absolutely ridiculous. We'd love to see that. Now obviously a lot of people might think Ghost Rider should be a DPS hero in this game, but in my opinion I think he actually works better as a Vanguard, especially because the whole point in him is that he doesn't really die, similar to kind of like Hulk and all these kind of characters as well. Now obviously some DPS heroes do have overhealth, so he could fit in that category, but in my opinion this would be a really cool addition to the Vanguard slot, and he's going to be something a little bit different to what we currently have. Captain America obviously fits in that category of a low HP tank, but has a lot of other ways to sustain himself in combat, and I think Ghost Rider fits a very similar kind of category. Next up, we have the Juggernaut. Now this one is a bit of an unfortunate one in my opinion, and the reason I say that is because a lot of his abilities should have been what we actually received with the Thing inside Marvel Rivals, especially with that Yancey Street Charge. That's similar to what the Juggernaut would do, running through walls. And then also the ability to not be CC'd. Again, I think that's something that fits more of the Juggernaut than the Thing, and that's just me personally. I would still like to see this hero in the game anyway, and obviously they could still give him the ability to not be CC'd, so there's more than one tank that doesn't get moved. Especially with how strong Wolverine is at the moment, I think this could actually be beneficial to the game at the minute. But like I said, I don't know what else they could give to him to make him different to what we already have with the Thing. Next one is a pretty interesting one actually, which is Colossus. Now the reason why I say this is interesting is because there's actually voice lines with Magneto and Wolverine already in this game at the moment, saying if you do the fastball special with Wolverine and Colossus, Magneto can throw them both at the same time because they're both made out of metal essentially. And it's quite interesting because that pretty much is almost like a spoiler to say Colossus is coming to the game anyway. And I think it kind of makes sense because also Magic is Colossus's sister, and then they can have that team up going as well. So in terms of his abilities, Colossus is relatively boring if I'm being honest with you. All he has is like super strength, and obviously they can do extra stuff that we wouldn't really think of. He definitely fits the Vanguard category, he doesn't fit anywhere else in my opinion. And obviously he can have a lot of overhealth and things like that, but I would be very interested to see what abilities they give him. That is something that I've never really thought of too much with Colossus in particular, because like I said, he's a very boring kind of character. He doesn't really have many abilities other than super strength really, and the ability to kind of maybe take a lot more damage than usual. So we'll need to see how they kind of plan him out and do all these team ups like I mentioned. Next up, we have a hero that I'm super excited to see in this game, hopefully at some point in the future, and that is Warmachine. Warmachine is one of my favorite characters in Marvel of all time, and having him in the Vanguard category would make him very different to all the other Vanguards, and that's because he can fly. We don't have any flying Vanguards in this game whatsoever, and I think he fits the perfect archetype to do that. Now obviously be relatively similar to Iron Man in terms of design and things, and obviously the ability to fly around, but other than that I think his kit could be quite different. I think first of all, when it comes to his weaponry and attacks, he obviously has his machine gun. He can obviously use the repulsor blast as well if they really wanted to give him that, but they don't even have to because he's got missiles, he's got machine guns, he's got so many other things that he can use that Iron Man does not have. So Warmachine is really cool in that aspect. And then also he could be doing things like giving his team shields essentially, so like a kind of armor plate of 100 HP shield. And I think that would be a really cool way to kind of be like a almost strategist style Vanguard. I know it sounds crazy, but I think being able to give your team kind of like shields for 100 HP's worth whilst you're kind of hovering in the air, kind of looking down at your team and seeing how you can support them best. I think that would be a really cool way to make Warmachine work in this game, very different to the way that other tanks work at the moment. Obviously they provide shield bubbles like Magneto, they also provide frontline shields, but this would be a bit different to what we have at the moment, and I think that's just a really cool way of adding a bit more value to Warmachine. Now, another one of my favorite Marvel characters has to be in the Vanguard slot, and that is Sabertooth. Now, Sabertooth has some insane potential to be a high skill Vanguard within Marvel Rivals, and the reason I say that is because I would like Sabertooth to be what Venom is to Spider-Man, but to Black Panther. Now, obviously, Sabertooth and Wolverine have their history, we all know that. We get that part, and obviously I think it should be a kind of hybrid between Wolverine, Black Panther and a Vanguard. And the way it should work is that obviously he can do kind of dive Vanguard activities, and then also he has the ability to do combos, not quite as powerful as what Black Panther has, because I think obviously we need to kind of keep Black Panther as a strong DPS because again he's high skill, but it's someone that can kind of go and pair with Black Panther and dive an enemy backline, but he has a lot more sustainability than Black Panther does, but he moves a lot slower, of course. So I think that's something that we could definitely have with Sabertooth, and obviously can have a kind of similar rage meter to Wolverine, where maybe instead of him building up rage to do more damage, which obviously Wolverine's a DPS, so that makes more sense, maybe he builds up more rage to kind of give himself more over shields instead. So I think that'd be really, really cool. So maybe he gets like 5 over shield for every single rage built up or something like that. I think that'd be insane, and just keeping him in the fight whilst he's able to perform combos and dive attacks similar to Black Panther. Then they can also have a team up, obviously Sabertooth and Wolverine, Sabertooth and Black Panther, since they're both obviously similar kind of characters. Then we have Thanos, and I think 90% of us would agree that we want to see Thanos to some extent added into this game. Now obviously he has to be a Vanguard, the guy is huge and he needs to be in the Vanguard category. Now in terms of abilities, I think it's a bit tough because obviously we could have Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, but I think that kind of doesn't really make any sense because it would be like broken and overpowered, and there's no way of them giving him the Infinity Gauntlet and then making him feel kind of a lot weaker than what we would expect. So they might as well just make the Mad Titan version of Thanos so we can get him in the game to some extent, and then they can build from his kit from there. And I think Thanos would still be such a popular character being picked in this game, and he's just such a cool design as well. I think we've got a lot of skins that we could choose for Thanos as well, if you talk about the movies like Infinity War, or if you even take from the comic books. But like I said, I think Thanos has to be in this game. Now in terms of abilities and things, I'm not really too sure what they would do with it. Again, like I said, because I don't think they should give him the gauntlet, it just really doesn't make any sense whatsoever to do that. So the next one is one I thought we would have seen a lot earlier actually, which is Dr. Doom, who's the Season 0 villain of Marvel Rivals. Now he obviously has all of his character models and everything already in the game, so basically they've already designed this guy. All they need to do is give him a kit and essentially put him in the game. Obviously he's pretty OP as well, he's got tons of abilities. This guy is pretty broken, to be fair, I'm not gonna lie. If they added him in, he does have so many abilities. Now I think one that would be really cool for Dr. Doom would be for him to have like an EMP type ability, which essentially blocks the enemy teams using any of their abilities for maybe 2 to 3 seconds. I think that'd be insanely strong, but I think it could be extremely useful as well. Kind of similar to Doctor Strange's portal, where he has a long cooldown on it. But I think that could basically change the way team fights work in this game and make you have to think about using your abilities when he's on the enemy team. Now, like I said, it wouldn't stop you using your primary attacks or using any of your kind of primary healing if you're a strategist, but just any of your abilities that you actually have to use. I think for a second or two, if you're not able to use them, I think that would be an insane ability for Dr. Doom to have. Maybe it'd be a bit broken, but I think it'd be really cool to add him into the game at some point. Plus his character design is just insane if you've had a look at any of the trailers. Finally, for the Vanguard category, we have Carnage, and I think Carnage would be a really cool addition to this game for some of the reasons I'm going to state in a moment. But I think the only thing with Carnage is that he is very similar to Venom, of course, to what we already have with Venom and Spider-Man, and obviously that would add a lot of Spider-Man characters in this game, which is not obviously a bad thing, but I think they're trying to make it a lot more varied and let us play characters that we don't usually play. So that is something that we do need to keep in mind, but I would still like to see Carnage added into the game at some point. And I think what would make him very different to what we already have with Venom and even Spider-Man, of course, is his ability to maybe do damage over time. And what that means is if he attacks someone with maybe like making a sword with his symbiote abilities and he's able to attack someone, then they start kind of taking tick damage as they kind of try to escape or whatever it may be. I think that'd be pretty cool for a certain amount of time, of course. And I think that would make Carnage a bit more kind of menacing compared to someone like Venom, who basically needs to be quite agile and obviously swing in and out, dive tank, whereas Carnage is more of like a DPS kind of tank. I think that'd be really cool. So like I said, we've got a lot of tanks here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see some of these heroes added in, or if you have any other suggestions for heroes being added into the Vanguard category in particular, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We also have made a video on strategists, so that's 8 strategists we would like to see added in, and you can click on that video right now as well. Thank you very much for watching.